All right, everyone. We are back for another family education and support group. It is Saturday, May 28th, 2022. My name is Param, your weekly host of this family education and support group. And I know slowly we're going to have some people trickling in right now. So welcome. If you're here for the first time, I hope you keep coming back. If you're here for the 100th time in the past few years, thank you for coming back. For example, Mr. Jim Chan, appreciate you. Hossein John, good morning. And everyone else, Debbie, good morning. What's up, everyone? Thank you for being here. I'm excited about this one. It's a newer one. I think this one's really geared to family members and themselves and just everyone in life in general. And I'll give you a quick introduction of myself. Sorry for the ones who've heard me say it a bunch of times, but just like we saw last week, there's some people that are new here, and it's always good for them to feel welcome too. So my name is Param. I have a master's degree in marriage and family therapy with an emphasis in child development. I am a licensed addiction, alcohol, and drug counselor in addictive processes and behaviors. I also coach high school basketball. That's something, we have summer basketball coming up here pretty soon. I'm a little excited for it. I normally don't commit to summers, but I'm going to be doing the summer a little bit this year too. And let's see. I'm also in recovery myself. So we're all recovering human beings, right? But June 13th, 2008 was the day that I changed my life around and stopped consuming and ingesting and using mind and mood altering substances. And life has really profoundly changed. So today's talk is going to be all about understanding opportunities. Okay. Understanding opportunities in life, because it's something we hear about often, right? Like, oh, this opportunity came and passed someone by, or so-and-so took on this opportunity, or someone just got lucky and this opportunity happened. But I want to really stop and slow down. And where I got inspired to do this, by the way, so there's this podcast that I listen to. His name is Mr. John Maxwell. He's one of the leaders in personal development, coaching, leadership. And he's awesome. He makes things really simple. And so what I like to do sometimes, I listen to it. Like I say, when I drive to work, I have about a 30, 45 minute commute. When I drive to work, I always make my car my classroom. So what that means is I try to expose myself to words, thoughts, ideas that inspire me and grow me. So by the time I get out of the car, I wasn't just listening to mindless, numbing kind of stupid stuff. I listened to something that actually helped me. And this John Maxwell guy, I mean, he's really famous. I've never met him in my life, and I probably won't meet him. And he'll never meet me, but he's profoundly changed the way I think. And so his talk was about opportunities. And you know me, so I like to get what I hear, change it, and adapt it to the recovery world and to healing and transformation, and come up with a talk of my own. So I'm using his stuff. It's not all original, but I make it my own version. And by the way, the cool thing about him is he says, take my talks and do what you want with them, so he gives permission to do so. And I love that about that. So like I say, every week, every talk I do, I just did a talk this morning, the same talk to our program participants at Buckeye Recovery Network. And same passion, same enthusiasm. It's always dedicated to the possibility of human transformation. So whether that's the family member watching this, whether that's the individual going through the addictive process and trying to recover and heal, I believe in the possibility of human transformation. And that possibility to transform is right here, right now. So this is an opportunity for transformation. And, someone watching this right now might be saying, what the hell is this guy talking about? How is this going to help me transform? Well, last week, I encourage you to go watch our talk from last week. It was, you get goosebumps from watching what these family members that are on this right now and, are usually on this, were able to say about how they have transformed. And I'm telling you, it's not a direct result of this talk, but these talks provide opportunities for growth, for personal development, for insight, for learning, for empathy, for compassion, and all of that creates transformation. So if you're watching this, I'm glad you're here. This is an opportunity for growth. And so I'm going to get into it. There's about 8 or 9 different things that, that I'm going to go through. And again, this is always an interactive thing. So the same way when you guys come up and say good morning, you can write comments, you can ask questions, you can provide feedback, you can agree, you can disagree, you can do whatever you want to do. It's free and for all. There's no sales gimmick. There's no catch. I do this every week, and I'll continue doing it. So the first one says motivation and opportunity are connected to one another. Motivated people find opportunities, and opportunities find motivated people. And when I force our program participants to watch this like at 8:00 in the morning, right? So some of them are just laying there on the couch, like, God damn, this guy's gonna go and start talking to us again. And some of them are actually eagerly listening, and some of them are somewhere in between. Some of them are on their phones, that kind of stuff. And for the most part, it's the same conversation happening, but guess what? Not everyone's hearing the same thing. So even though I'm sharing the same enthusiasm, passion, it's connecting to people differently. Literally, some people might get annoyed by the way I look, and the opportunity passes them by. Some people might like the way I look, and they listen. Some people like the way I say words. Some people hate my voice. And all of these things get factored in. But I'll tell you this, the one common factor for opportunities is motivation. And I will say, when somebody is going through depression, when somebody's going through debilitating anxiety, when somebody's going through guilt and shame in the early stages of recovery, sometimes it's hard to find motivation. And that's why sometimes psychotropic medications, antidepressants, a healthy lifestyle, a new nutrition, diet plan, all that kind of stuff, it can help with increased motivation because we start healing internally. But to get someone that's really depressed and expect them to be like this, it's kind of like, it's unfair to that individual in the early stages. But most people don't have a procrastination problem. Okay. So people always say, hey, I just procrastinate all the time. I'm just one of those procrastinators. It's not a procrastinator problem. It's a motivation problem. And I have this analogy that I've shared with the families here before, and I'm going to share it again because in case there's someone new watching this, I need you to hear this. We all, if motivated, can go and grab opportunities. Okay. And here's the perfect analogy, and it'll make a lot of sense. Let's say that you're sitting down right now on a to-do list of 10 things that you need to get done yesterday, right? It's 10 things that you had to get done last week, last month, sometimes last year. And for whatever reason, because you procrastinate, you haven't completed that list. And you don't find the motivation, you don't find the energy, you don't find the enthusiasm. And if I come in here and tell you right now, hey, I have an idea. At the end of this week, how about we all go to the Mediterranean Sea, somewhere in those Greek islands, somewhere with those white buildings with a crazy contrast with the sky and the ocean that you look on, social media and it just blows you away. And it's all expense paid trip. We'll pay for the airfare. We'll pay for the hotel, the room, the board, the accommodation. We'll even pay for the excursions. But here's the catch. All you have to do is complete your to-do list of 10 items that you've been sitting on. And you have to complete it by the end of the week. If you complete it, you get to come on this trip. And guess what magically happens? The same person that says I'm a procrastinator, the same person that says I have no energy, I have no motivation, all of a sudden becomes highly motivated. All of a sudden, they are able to access this opportunity of a lifetime. So motivation and opportunity are always connected. People don't have a procrastination problem. They have a motivation problem, right? So, and that's kind of what I was telling our program participants, and I'll tell the families right now. If there are certain things in your life that you're not doing right now, you got to look and see why am I not motivated to do so? When you find the answer to that, it'll come. The next one, Michael, what's up, bud? I didn't see your thing there. Monir John, what's up? So the next one, this is huge, I think. And it says the right attitude often precedes right opportunities. So attitude is key. We talk about it all the time. I mean, there's so many quotes out there. 90% of what happens in life, it's 90% is our attitude, 10% is what happens. But there's a couple of good ones that I found here. And here's the quotes that I like to this. So it says, right attitude often precedes right opportunities. It says, today is the best day for an opportunity. Today, right here, right now. Today is the best day for an opportunity. And what does that mean? Well, For many of us, and the individuals going through recovery themselves, we all used to prescribe to this thing called the Just for Tomorrow program. So in the program, we've all heard just for today, just for today, just for today. Well, before we get into programs, we all subscribe for this Just for Tomorrow program. And what is the Just for Tomorrow program? When tomorrow comes, I will do X, Y, Z. You know what? I'm going to start this diet, but I'm going to smart it tomorrow. I'm going to make that phone call, but I'm going to make it tomorrow. I'm going to start saving some money, but let me buy this today. I'm going to start tomorrow. I'm going to get off drugs and alcohol. Not today, tomorrow. The Just for Tomorrow program keeps people. Yeah, look, I said that and boom, there's one. Guilty. I know you're guilty, man. I'm right there with you, bro. I was right there with you. And you know what? Sometimes even family members, I need to help my kid out, but I'm going to do this tomorrow because today he's got this test. Today he's got to go to work. Today we got this family party. Oh, I can't not do it today. So they just push things back and push things back. And sometimes the same 15-year-old that was struggling all of a sudden is now 25, 30 years old. And they're saying, oh, tomorrow. So here's another quote. It says, one today is worth two tomorrows. And that's by Mr. Benjamin Franklin. One today is worth two tomorrows. And I know that might not make logical sense, but God, it makes so much sense because tomorrow doesn't mean anything. You understand that tomorrow's not even a thing? And you guys probably think I'm losing my mind right now, but let me tell you this. This thing that we call tomorrow is not actually a thing. It's not even a thing. Let's see what Jim said real quick. Jim cracked a joke. I like that. He says, why do today when I can put it off till tomorrow? That's what everyone says before they get sober, right? I mean, what's the point of trying today? Because tomorrow I can try. As if tomorrow we find this magical motivation. Tomorrow is where like my enthusiasm and motivation and hunger to exists. But tomorrow is not guaranteed. Martha, tomorrow is not guaranteed. Let me give you something even beyond that. And thanks for coming back. I know you said that you said last week that this was a bad time for you. So thank you for creating time and prioritizing this. This is awesome. Let's see what I'll get to your question in a second, Hossein John. Let me I want to say something here about this thing about tomorrow. So I'm not saying it's not good to plan because I'm a type A personality. So there's a very, very high probability that I plan my things in life. But I have come to the understanding that tomorrow doesn't really exist. And here's what I mean by that. So right now, if I ask you what time it is, it's 10:12 Pacific Standard Time. Saturday, May 28th. And it's hard to dispute that, right? That's like kind of universally accepted if you look at the time zone and stuff. And this moment is all that we really have. So the same way tomorrow is not guaranteed, this moment is all that's guaranteed, this moment right now. And what happens is this moment turns into the next moment, turns into the next moment, turns into the next moment, right? This now turns into another now, it turns into another now. And when these moments combine with each other, this thing called tomorrow gets created. But if we're here tomorrow and I ask you what time is it, when is it, the only answer is now. It's today. See, there is no such thing as tomorrow because when tomorrow comes, it's today again. It's a bunch of todays that link up together to create this thing we call tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. So one today is worth two tomorrows. I'll even double down on Mr. Benjamin Franklin. I say one today is worth 1,000 tomorrows. How about that? Let's see how that one ages. I do believe in that. And let's see what Hossein asked a question. Can we interpret motivation being part of will? What is the relationship between the two of them? That's a good question. I mean, that's pretty deep. I do believe that there's some type of a motivation between some type of a relationship between will and motivation. So there is a relationship there between it. However, there are some people that might want to do something, right? They really, truly want to do it, but they might be experiencing some type of psychological, mental disorder. So when you talk to someone that's depressed, like as a clinician, if I talk to someone that's depressed and they tell me they want a better life and I look in their eyes and I believe it and I see it and I feel it and they give me the reasons for why they want it, but they're unable to go from what they're saying and their actions don't match up yet, right? And I'm not talking about anybody here that you would know, St. John. I'm just talking in general about human beings. There is sometimes a disconnect between someone's wants and desires and the actions they're able to take. And sometimes that is just a byproduct of living in a certain mindset for a long period of time. We have to realize this: living organisms, living beings, we can become conditioned. So if someone becomes conditioned to depression, depressed mind, even if they want to do something, the willpower is not there right off the bat. That's why we always say, and counselors like Jim will attest to this, willpower alone isn't enough. It just isn't enough. You know, if it was enough, don't you think all these people that want to do things in life would be able to do it? And motivation and will, they really go. And when you get both of those together, so how about this? Let's make this even better. When someone's highly motivated and they have the willpower to do it, and you combine those things, that's where transformation happens, right? That's where transformation happens. And in the early stages, I'll say this and move on. All we want to see is, has there been any type of small, tangible improvements from yesterday, last week, last month, last year? Because those improvements, even though they might not seem, drastic, over time, they become drastic. Over time, if you just go a little bit each day you might feel like you're not making progress, but you look back to where you started from, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm in a completely different world right now. So wonderful question. Thank you for having me critically think to answer it. I appreciate it. And like I just answered Hussein, anybody that has questions, ask them. I'm not tied to what I'm doing here. I just create this in case nobody asks any questions to not be sitting here just staring at the window, staring at the laptop. So the next one, this is great. This one so this is my favorite one. And I told the program participants this morning, this was my favorite one. It says, opportunities are not seized in the ideal situation. Opportunities are not packaged ideally. Okay, so what does that mean? This is huge, that opportunities are not packaged ideally. So in our mind, we are led to believe that opportunities are supposed to look a certain way, right? They're supposed to come at a certain time. They're supposed to feel a certain way. They're supposed to have this little bow on them that says, oh, open this up and your life is going to get better. We always see those pictures like opportunity knocks, and we think it's just going to come to us. I will tell you this firsthand, not only from my personal experience, but working with countless human beings over, let's call it over a decade, that the greatest opportunities in life came in the worst packages ever, right? In the package of depression, in the package of anxiety, in the package of trauma, in the package of adverse childhood experiences, in the package of substance use disorders, in the package of disrupted family life, chaotic family life, dysfunctional childhoods. In those packages, that's where opportunity comes. Opportunity comes from heartbreak. Opportunity comes from depth, from darkness, from sadness, because that's where we have to dig deep and find the motivation to change. Do you think most people just change because they change? I've yet to meet one person that just says, you know what? My life is going great for me right now. Everything's awesome. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to change. I'm going to transform. Come on. People only change for two reasons. Number one, inspiration. So you listen to someone talk, you get inspired, and you say, I'm going to go change. That doesn't last too long. That's why motivational talking and stuff like that, motivational kind of speakers, they can pump people up in real time, but it doesn't sustain unless the person keeps doing the work. So it's either by inspiration, and number two, by desperation. You get desperate enough to change. Yep, that's what he said right there, like the gift of desperation. That's very right on, Michael. The gift of desperation. You've heard me say this. Inside the gift of desperation, you open it up, there's a key. That key is called the key of willingness. It makes you willing to do whatever it takes. God, desperation is a beautiful thing. It really is, because it forces us to do things otherwise we would never thought we'd do. So opportunities for every family member. Look at it this way. Last week, I asked you to share what you found in the recovery process, and you shared these wisdom, the nuggets, the most beautiful things ever. You know where you learned all that? You learned that as a result of sleepless nights, putting the phone on your chest when you go to bed, anger, yelling, screaming, control, fear, sadness, terror. The byproduct of that package created the opportunity for you to look inward and heal and transform yourself and recover. Like, did you ever think that's possible? You never thought there'd be opportunity inside that cluster F. Who the heck does, right? So that's where it happens. And let's see what Jim said right here. This is nice. Most people don't know this. So Counselor Jim here said, court-mandated recovery program, greatest opportunity I have ever grown from. It only takes a small amount of willingness in the beginning. Thank you for sharing that, Jim. So there's something that individuals say, and I can share a little bit about Jim's experience here. I know what it is. Court mandated is like a drug court, pretty much what they call it. They have it for DUI court. They have it for drug court. And thankfully, finally, I think they're starting to create one for mental health court. And if they do, that's the greatest possible thing they could do for human beings, for human suffering. I genuinely mean that. I don't know if they've started it. Let me tell you what drug court mandated programs are. So when a person gets caught with felonies or something like that, with substance related, or you get a bunch of DUIs, instead of going to jail and imprisoning people, which doesn't work, never has, never will, let's just call it what it is. I'm very, very passionate about that, by the way. I do not believe that those systems work for people because the principal's office didn't work for the first kid that was ever sent there. So the first kid that acted up in class and got sent to the principal's office, it didn't change their behavior, and it will never work for the next kid that's being sent there, because people that are hardest to love are the ones that need it the most. Remember that. So court mandated programs like Jim's talking about here, instead of going to jail, it's a diversion program. It is very hard to get through it. I could tell you what drug court is like. It's got different phases, right? Different phases. Each phase has a higher level intensity. So you're there more often, you're testing more often, you're going to more groups. And as you finish that, you go to the next stage down. When you go to the next stage down, you might be dropping with intensity, but you're still testing all the time. But then they're going to say, hey, unless you get a job, unless you go to school, unless you do something, you're not moving down this thing. And anytime you relapse or anytime you fall back on, so Jim said 32 months. There you go. They push you back to the beginning of the phase. And each phase can be 3 to 4 months. So if you screw up at some point, you push you all the way back to the phase, and you got to start, because here's the thing. If you don't, you're going back to jail. And a lot of people don't want to do that. It took Jim 32 months to get out of that drug court, but he just said right there, it's the greatest opportunity I have ever grown from. So sometimes going into a drug court program might sound like, oh my God, my life is over. However, on the flip side, it became an opportunity. That's awesome, Jim. Thank you for sharing that. And by the way, most people that finish those programs, I used to be a DUI counselor, so I know a lot about DUI court, but it's the same program just for alcohol versus drugs. Most people that finish that program successfully, they have this graduation that's just phenomenal. I've been to many of them, but they go and they write letters and they read letters to the judge. The DUI court guy's name was Judge Anderson, awesome human being. And people would go there and thank the judge. They thank the judge. And I know people, by the way, that got arrested by police officers, that once they got clean and sober, they went and found the police officer on the arrest report, and they went and thanked them. Or they give them their chip, their sobriety chip. And they say, here you go. You gave me some legal intervention. The nudge from the judge. Judge, you gave me some intervention. And in the early stages, they can't see that, though. They're pissed off, resentful, and all that kind of stuff. But eventually it goes through. So thank you for that insight. So that was the opportunities that are not seized in the ideal situation. Opportunities are not packaged ideally. Let's see what we got here. Martha, would you say hard to convey to a young person that overcoming, maybe even just surviving difficulties will build their superpowers? It is. It is tough for them, but let me see what I can say here. So when young people, we'll call them the 18 through 23, 18 through 25 crowd, when they experience challenges, hardships, difficulties at a young age, it does something for them that they might not know in real time that it's happening, because some of this stuff is not just related to people that are struggling, Martha. Young people in general often lack the insight and the awareness, because it comes down to the brain development. And I really want you guys to capture this right here. So the human brain continues to progress and continues to evolve and continues to build and develop until the age of 25. Okay. And what the main part that I'm talking about here is we have this part of the brain that's called the prefrontal cortex. What the prefrontal cortex is responsible for, it is also known as like the CEO of the brain. It's all of our decision-making processes. It's our judgment. It's right. It's wrong. It's like critically thinking, all that kind of stuff. It's not fully developed yet. That's why between the ages of 18 to 25, when people are growing up, we see a lot of impulsivity. We see a lot of bad decisions. We see a lot of like, how could you have done that? Well, the part of the brain that's responsible for saying, maybe I shouldn't do that, it's not fully developed yet. And that's why when people turn 25, they start making some better decisions. And there's no accident why cars are not rented out to people before the age of 25. There's no accident why insurance policies start to drop significantly after the age of 25. People make better decisions. So, yeah, some of it we just have to be patient and allow the journey of life, allow them to experience the journey of life, for them to go through it, for them to experience what they need to experience in order to have the ability to look back and reflect. I mean, if I can go back and tell every program participant that what you're doing right now is not going to serve you, or how you're treating yourself right now is not going to serve you, they won't hear it until one day they look back and say, that pain that I was experiencing became an opportunity for myself. So great insight there, Martha. Let's see what Jim's last letter said. My letter, the last line was, it has been real and it has been fun, but it hasn't been real. It hasn't been real fun. Oh man, that's for sure. And the car rental reminder helps. Yeah, you're welcome. You know, it's brain development. It is a thing though, till age 25. You know, it's not just a random. A lot of things I say, remember, I'm a licensed clinician, so I say it in really layman's terms, and it sounds like I'm just sharing personal opinions, but a lot of it is backed with research too. Not all of it. Some of it I wing, and that's okay. So the next one says, opportunities are a result of pluck, not luck. So if you don't know what pluck means, it means to go out there and get it. Opportunities are a result of pluck, not luck. So I have a couple quotes here about that one. George Bernard Shaw, which is someone I love because me and him prescribe to the same type of dietary habits. You know how passionate I am about that. He said, the people who get on in this world are the people who get up and look for the circumstances they want. And here's where the beauty is. And if they can't find them, they create them. Right? That's like the two school of thoughts. Some people just wake up and say, well, my life's not working out the way I want. My parents aren't talking to me the way I want. I'm not getting paid the way I want. I'm not blah, 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 blah. And they just resign to that. They get defeated. Other people say, all this stuff isn't working, but I'm going to make sure that I get the relationship I want with my family. I'm going to get the job that I want with the wages I want. I'm going to do something that I'm passionate about. And those people, it's not just luck. It's pluck. They went and got it. They created it. I believe we can create our own realities, by the way. I 100% believe so. I do not believe that we are our story. I do not believe that we are our past. I believe that we are anything and everything we want to be from this moment moving forward. So people say, well, why can't I be? It's because we over-identify with what happened to us instead of thinking about all the possibilities that's still available to us, right? The next one was, in this life, we only get those things for which we hunt, which we strive for, and which we are willing to sacrifice. The last part is probably what I want to talk about there is, so opportunities are a result of pluck, not luck. And it says, what are you willing to sacrifice? You know, so this morning, I'll just tell you what I shared with the program participants. And I actually did have a lot of empathy and compassion for the younger ones. So Martha, the younger generation, the 18 through 23, 25, those ones. I said, hey, I have a lot of compassion and empathy for you. And here's the reason why. Because there is a significant amount of sacrifice that needs to happen in order to grasp opportunities that are available for you. That sacrifice is sometimes you have to let go of your old identity. You have to let go of your old life. You have to let go of your past. And for them, it's like, that's all I know. You're telling me I have to let go of everything and everyone in my life in order to achieve this new stuff. And for them, it just sounds absurd. It sounds, honestly, if someone told me that at 18, I tell them to do just something that I can't say publicly right now. But for the ones that are a little bit older, they're like, yeah, I'm ready to give up my past. I'm ready to move on. I'm ready, because they've experienced some type of pain in the process. And sacrifice is, who and what are you willing to sacrifice in order to become who and what you want to be in life? Let's see what. Eileen, thank you for your participation. And I have learned that we need to add is the brain development is interfered, delayed when there is substance abuse. Yes, and I'll talk about that. So it layers negatively on a young person's brain development. The 25-year-old benchmark may be delayed. So that 100% accurate, what she said right there. And here's the reason why. So the 25 benchmark is through the course of normal human development. Okay. Now, when somebody at a young age experience pain, experience trauma, experience just a lot of chaos, all that kind of stuff like that, it starts to change the wiring of the brain, because now you start to experience things like anxiety, depression, heightened level of emotions. And when our emotions are heightened, our logical brain development, that pattern gets disrupted. Okay. So it's really hard to be really emotionally triggered and charged and also be moving forward in a really healthy way on that timeline. So now what do people do when they are very dysregulated? So when they have a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression, well, they act out in some type of addictive behaviors or use some addictive substances. So not everyone has to use drugs and alcohol, by the way. People can mess up their brain development just playing video games all day. People can mess up their brain development just by looking at porn all day. People can mess up their brain development just by eating a lot of food all day, right? It's not just with drugs and alcohol. But now you add all of these addictive behaviors and processes, and you add substances in the mix, and now it's literally going to delay that process. So that's why oftentimes people that have a long-term use of substances, let's just say someone uses substances until the age of 30. Okay, let's just use that as a different benchmark. 30 years old. And now they get clean and sober, and they started when they were 15 years old. Okay, so 15 years old they started. And obviously, if someone's using drugs at 15, they were in a lot of pain. Psychological, emotional. And by 30 years old, they stop. So now they're a 30-year-old grown man or grown woman, a grown person, 30 years old, and they're going through life. And all of a sudden, they experience some type of a breakup in a relationship, or they experience they tried to get a job and they didn't get it, or they're angry at somebody and they don't know how to communicate. All of a sudden, they act, they talk, they walk, they act, they think like a 15-year-old. It's like, whoa. And by the way, some people that experience significant trauma when they're young, I'm completely tangenting here, but like 7, 8, 9 years old, there was some type of abuse. Whenever they get dysregulated, sometimes they even talk like a child. I want you to know that. They turn like childlike, because wherever the trauma, the abuse started, that's sometimes when they stop developing. And does that say it's going to take someone, for the 30-year-old, it's going to take 15 years to catch up? No. It's probably going to take a couple years, though, for the emotional sobriety, the emotional maturity, the emotional healing to take place. Because I've always said this, just the stopping of drugs doesn't do anything. Just the stopping of addictive behavior doesn't do anything. All it does is it stops the consequences from it. Then the real work begins. So thank you for that insight. I know that's going to help some people. The next one says opportunity without commitment will be lost. So it doesn't say that it might be lost. It doesn't say that it could be lost. It says that it will be lost. And why is that the case? Because opportunity without commitment will be lost. What is commitment? I've said it 1,000 times here. I'll say it for 1,001st time, because there might be someone watching this for the first time. Commitment means the motivation and willingness to continue doing something after the initial excitement has worn off. So initial excitement makes everybody committed, right? It's like New Year's 1, January 1, everybody's committed. But then when the excitement wears off, the willingness and motivation starts to go down. So opportunities, the reason why they're so linked with commitment is because at some point in the process, you're going to start losing a little bit of motivation. And guess what? You're going to stop doing the things you're doing, and your commitment's going to go out. And then opportunity might have been right here. So like you're going forward And right here, you stop. But if you would have kept going, you would have been able to grab the opportunity. But because you stop, the opportunity passes you by. You know, in the program, they say, don't quit before the miracle happens. And people say, well, that doesn't make sense. It makes a lot of sense. Because everything we want is on the other side of what we're willing to do. Because if it was here already, our current actions would get it to us. So one thing here, for example, when I got clean and sober or just changed my life around at 24 and a half, I was a college dropout, right? I finished some community college and I was able to get into some school and transfer and all that kind of stuff like that. But I was a college dropout, okay? So 20 years old, I dropped out of college. I didn't go back till 24 and a half. In 24 and a half, I'm getting sober. I'm getting exposed to counselors, therapists. I saw a therapist. I'm like, God, that'd be really cool to be like that guy. And then I go to the guidance counselor at the school and they tell me it's going to take you 7 years to get your bachelor's degree and get the master's degree you need to do that. So I'm thinking there's 7 years for this. So now I have to be committed for this journey, because if I would have stopped at any point in those 7 years, the opportunity to become a therapist and to learn everything would have been non-existent. So if you want an opportunity to happen, you got to look at your commitment. Let's see what Michael said. Something. He's being vulnerable. He disclosed something. He said, I experienced all this abuse and I got sober at 32, and my first year of sobriety was difficult for me. And Michael is someone, just if you don't know, he's got 4 years clean and sober, very intelligent, very smart. He's been doing some internship hours with us at Buckeye Recovery Network and just doing some wonderful work. 4 years clean, sober. He's also, a student going to school to get his master's or PhD or one of the other. But 32 years old, got sober. And when he says it was very difficult to me, you know what he's trying to say right there? What I know he's trying to say? His emotions just went wild, right? His emotions went wild. I bet you there was times that this mature, well-spoken, intellectual man was acting and thinking like a child, wherever the abuse was, wherever the trauma was, all that kind of stuff. It's not because he's a child. It's because the emotional development. So he says exactly. Look at that. Without even any interaction, I said exactly what I needed to say. Thank you for that. But I just want you to hear from someone like that, because that's not me talking. I can say everything I want. When it's first person, it becomes different. Hossein says sacrifice is an investment for having a great future. Yeah. Sacrifice is an investment, and that's why hard. So adolescent, the younger they are, the less they're willing to sacrifice, because you can't tell a young kid to go invest. I mean, if everybody started investing when we were 18 years old, by the time we're 65, we'd all be millionaires, But nobody does that because we don't understand the power of compound interest at a young age. Maybe later on in life we figure it out, but it is an investment for sure. So the next one says opportunity is birthed out of problems. The birthplace of opportunity is always a problem. So we kind of talked about this earlier when we said it's not a certain package, but if you're going through some problems in life right now, I want you to pause and take a look at the problem, okay? And don't just look at it from your perspective that perceives it as a problem. Look at it from every other possible outcome and perspective. Because when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change, okay? So what might appear to be a problem to you in your current perspective might be an opportunity for you from a different perspective. And that is the beauty of examining life as it comes, right? So I have a whole talk on problems I've done. So if you want to go check it out, feel free to. It's probably on our Facebook page or something like that. And the problems, so I have an acronym, this is also John Maxwell kind of teaches these things too. There's an acronym for a problem. And just go watch that video. It's kind of trying to hopefully link you to it, but it's pretty powerful. So in the word problem, the roots of word problem is like probalane. It's like the Latin roots of it. It actually means to move forward. So a problem, if looked at properly, it actually means to move us forward. Whoever would have thought of that? Problem always looks like a barrier, right? It stops you in its track. But probalane means to move forward. And that's the origin of the word problem, which I think is badass. Excuse my French. There's only two more. And the next one says, opportunities can multiply or they can disappear. And I truly, truly believe in that. For some people in a program or family members right now, some people are watching this right now and they're like, you know what? I'm going to take what I'm gaining right now and I'm going to go and I'm going to double down and I'm going to multiply an opportunity in my life. I'm going to multiply a relationship that I have. I'm going to multiply the self-care that I do for myself. I'm going to multiply the love that I give. And some people watch this and then they go in 1 year, out the other. For some, this opportunity to personally develop and to improve one's life is tangible to them. And for others, it just pass them by. And why does that happen for some people? I don't know. I really stopped trying to figure out why some people do things and why some people don't. And I genuinely mean that. All I do is show up the exact same way, say the exact same stuff with the same passion, intensity, with knowledge, experience, presentation. And what people choose to do with that information is none of my business. None of my business, right? And that's a lesson that I've learned over years of doing this, by the way, because in the beginning stages of doing this kind of stuff, I would say, how come this person's doing what I said and this person isn't, right? And I would take it I get sad about it. And then for the one that isn't, I kept trying to say it in a different way. It just wouldn't happen. But the other person, I said it one way and they ran with it. And check this out. The same person that might be resistant right now, a year later, I say it and all of a sudden it sticks. They get it, right? Because what is the Buddhist saying? The teacher always appears when the student is ready. The teacher always appears when the student is ready. So I know that not everybody's ready at all times. So I just show up the same way. And in the beginning, like I said, I used to take it really, really hard. I used to lose sleep over someone relapsing. I used to lose sleep over someone passing away. And one counselor told me, he's like, hey, you can't take credit for that. Well, he actually told me the opposite. So when someone would get sober or someone would do really well or somebody would, succeed in life, I would say, yeah, look at that. I helped that out so much. I would take some type of credit for it. And then he said, you can't take credit for that. And I said, why not? He's like, if you take credit for the ones that succeed, you got to take credit for the ones that relapse and die. And I said, whoa, this is too much. He said, you know what you got to do? Just be a tunnel. Just be a tunnel for people to come through this experience. And wherever they go from there, they go from there. And it's none of your business which way they go. And I learned to just be a tunnel and be consistent. And it helped me tremendously in life, right? It helped me tremendously in life. And what else do I have here? I have the last one. Yeah, wow, is it? This I like that. Wow, the period. It's there's some moments in life, they call them these aha moments when the popcorn just pops and you just get it. And don't get me wrong, when people relapse and there's pain and families and all that stuff, I'm human. I feel it. Trust me, I internalize it. But I stopped over-identifying with it as if I could have done something differently. Because if I show up to my best ability and do the best I can every single time, that's all I can do. There is no more different version of that. Our best is our best. And once I make peace with that, like when I get off these talks, I look at myself and I say, I gave it my all. So if somebody doesn't heal from that or recover from that, that's really not on me at that point, and that's it took me a while to get there, but I'm fully there now. And the very last one says, nourish opportunities, feed an opportunity, and starve a problem. So when you nourish anything in life, guess what happens? It becomes healthy. It grows. It multiplies. It lives. It thrives. So when you have an opportunity in life like this is an opportunity for everyone watching this right now. You have an opportunity to heal and to recover. Nourish it. Nourish it, nourish it, nourish it, nourish it. And when you feed an opportunity, you starve the problem. You starve the problem of addiction when you feed the opportunity of recovery. They don't live in the same world. It's one or the other. Either you can continue to control, enable, do all the chaos of active addiction, or you can heal, set boundaries, do self-care. You can't do both at the same time. It is impossible. People try it and they lose their minds. You got to pick one or the other. This is the opportunity to choose recovery for yourself and your family. So That's it. 45 minutes straight of rambling. God, it's so cool. So if you have any specific topics, if you have any specific questions, post them here or send a message or whatever. Find a way to let me know, and I will actually do a talk on that. I want you to know that. I have no problem doing a talk on a topic that you want to hear. And just let me know if there's any specific questions you got. Let me know. I'll answer them like I did, the other week with the questions and answers. And you're very welcome. So let's see what some of these we got. For reminding us about the willpower, we have to improve the quality of our lives through motivation and taking advantage of the opportunities coming to us life. Great educational session as always. Thank you. Eileen, thank you. Thank you, actually. Another valuable and abundant amount of information Saturday session. Thank you so much for being so loyal all these years. Jim, thank you, my friend. I appreciate you. And everyone else that participated, joined, all that kind of stuff. And Martha, you're very welcome too. I appreciate you coming here despite, I know you said your schedule was tough on Saturdays. And feel free to share this, by the way, with anyone you want. So the link is just, post it on your Facebook. I don't really talk too much specifically about anybody's loved one, so I don't break any serious anonymity or anything like that. And it's purely educational. If you notice, I don't plug our program. It's not a sales pitch. It's not any of that kind of stuff. And that's kind of the way I prefer it anyway. So love and appreciate all you guys. Mike, thank you. Debbie, thank you. I'll see you same time, same place next week. Have a good Memorial weekend. It's a long weekend. Be safe, have fun, and we'll see you guys soon. Take care, everyone.